Radical.
This is going to be part 2 of the check engine light story for the Chevy Impala. And man, is this going to be a story to share. Not particularly a good story, but a story to share nonetheless. So I guess I'll start by saying I had to fix the check engine light, obviously, but it was a little bit more intensive than I thought it would be. It was kind of a worst case scenario. And I was talking about how probably was transmission related. Turned out to be transmission related. It turned out I needed a full rebuild because the second gear was off. Yeah, a full fucking rebuild. Just because I need to get my vehicle inspected. I'd been driving it just with a little bit of a kick around the second gear, thinking it was probably some minor issue or something. I mean, the guy told me as much that I dropped it off at. And I had called one person that put the engine in that car, and I asked him, do you know anybody that does transmission work that you would recommend? He recommended this one guy, and the guy he recommended actually was a couple miles away from where I sell at the flea market. So it was only a couple miles away. And this guy, he did a good job. He rebuilt my transmission. He did it in 4 days. I know I'm skipping ahead because I kind of just don't want to tell the full story. I don't want to recall this week because it's fresh in my mind and it's still stinging on the bank account. Now, it's not like the amount of money I spent on this is crushing last week, but I'm the kind of person that hates spending money I don't have to. It's one thing if I spend money I really need to, but I hate spending unnecessary money. And to me, I was driving the car. It was still working. There was a slight, kick sometimes in the second gear. But to me, I didn't need to rebuild the transmission because it was still working. If this was an older car, not a newer car, guess what? You would not get a check engine light for minor transmission problems. That's one thing I hate about these newer vehicles. If you have any fault whatsoever, boom, check engine light. Well, I guess transmission is not a minor fault, but still my point is, I could have drove that car like that probably for several years. But because I needed to get a sticker, because I needed to get an inspection, I had to take care of that first. So on a Monday morning, I dropped that vehicle off, and I didn't find out till Tuesday the bad news, which was that it would need a transmission rebuild. And what was amazing was, the guy is fast. When you think transmission rebuild, you think, shit, several weeks this is going to be. But the one thing I will say is he had that shit done by Thursday, man. I literally got that car back Thursday. I don't know how he was so fast. But yeah, I got it back Thursday. So all I really needed to do was hold out with the vehicles I had from from Monday to Thursday. You're thinking, no problem, right? No problem whatsoever. Well, problem. I had to go to work Monday night, and I was driving my red 94 Sentra, which has like a steering issue. Maybe the power steering needs to be replaced. I know, not like a minor job, but I keep, maybe it's got like a little leak in the power steering, I'm not sure. But very, very drivable. Starts perfect just about every time. Just every time. Not just about every time starts perfect. Mechanically, sound vehicle, runs good. Maybe like there's a minor oil leak in it around the valve cover, but that's typical with Nissans. So that's pretty much my daily driver for the week, I'm thinking. Or however long it takes to fix that Chevy, that's going to be my daily driver. So I daily drive that to work, went to work, and turned off the car. And this car had been running for about 15-20 minutes before I left just to make sure it wasn't overheating, because when it got like really hot during the summer, hottest days, seemed like it started to go to the hot just a little bit. But the weird thing is it never did it again after that. I thought thermostat, maybe, or random air? Didn't know. Water pump? Not sure. Never did it after that, but I was still hesitant to drive it daily. But now I had to drive it daily until the Chevy was fixed. Get to work, right? put yourself in my position. Get to work. I got the Chevy that has to be the Impala that needs a full transmission rebuilt, which I got the bill, which would be $3,300. Well, start out at $3,100, but I think there was something else minor that needed to be fixed, and I don't know, whatever. $3,300. I stop off the Nissan, turn it off, get out. Instantly, when I get out of the car, near my top of my boot, I notice there's fluid running down the hill. Running down the pavement is fluid. And at first I did a look to see if there's any other car or any other place it could be coming from. And when I realized it was coming up from the engine, I let out a loud, I'm not going to yell at you people. Fuck. It's the loudest fuck I think I've ever fucking yelled. Yeah. So I'm thinking the worst. I instantly turned the car off. I don't even want to pop the hood and look under there. I'm not sure if I did or not in that moment. But I instantly call the wrecker to come get the vehicle. And then I go into work. And of course, I'm incredibly distracted right now. Incredibly distracted. Trouble going into work when you're distracted. Because I'm thinking, what, did I blow the engine? It was driving so nice. What's going on here? So I'm going through. I don't even know what fluid it is. I found out later that it's oil. Because upon leaving work, and after it was towed later, I put my hand in the spot, and it's oil. Which, all things considered, I think that's a better scenario than coolant or coolant mixed with oil, because then you would have some big problems there. The wrecker comes later. And I don't even think to ask him, like, hey, what's that puddle right there? But I checked it later. I popped the hood. He looked up under there. And then he said, well, you got coolant here. It's not really messed up. You got oil in there. Not a lot. It looked like a lot spilled out, but he said you still have a good bit of oil in here. It's not milky, so that's probably a good sign. And he wanted me to start the car up. And it still purrs mostly like a kitten. Still sounds good. So he said, that's a good sign. There's no rod knocking, no nothing. So that is a good sign. So I'm thinking, what the hell is it? It's obviously a major oil leak. I'm trying to just kind of think positive thoughts at this point. Well, I had paid to have it wrecked to my house, but then he mentioned that he has a shop. So I'm thinking, hey, hell yeah. Even if they charge a little more than I'm used to, I usually take it to a shop that gives me a bit of a discount. That's going to save me from having it wrecked home than wrecking it back there. So that's awesome that the wrecker service actually has a built-in shop. I take it there, and he did say it would take a couple days to probably, get it looked at which point I don't care because that's my focus. My focus is my Impala at the moment. I didn't really care about the 94 Century as much because I just wanted it somewhere and starting to be worked on. Well, on the red car, I'm jumping ahead. So 2 weeks ago, I think I actually talked about a great beater car, which was a 2006 Nissan Sentra. And it still is a great beater car, but tires is tires. And if you would believe my luck, at this point, I have 2 vehicles in the shop. Oh no, that happened Monday. Tuesday, a couple hours before I was off that day. Yeah. Okay, yeah, never mind. I was off that day, so I didn't have to go to work. But Tuesday, upon leaving the trash dump, I guess I picked up a nail or something. I didn't see anything. Apparently, I drove over something at the trash dump. And a couple miles down the road, on the way to the gas station, I get a flat fucking tire. This time I didn't yell, because I just come to understand that this was probably just what was going to happen this week. Just for some reason, I just kind of expected some shit to happen. But on the positive, just a little bit down the road, right beside this gas station, was a tire shop. So I go to the tire shop until I forget, oh shit, that's a 205 tire. Those are oddball tires. A lot of people, you do 195 for the Sentras, but that's a 205. What can I say? I just like having a little bit more thickness on the sidewall. I like how they look too. And they seem to drive a little better, the 205s. The downside is sometimes it can throw off your speedometer just a little bit having a thicker tire. But damn it, I like the look of a thicker tire. I don't like tiny tires. They're stupid too. They're stupid too because you wind up, hurting your rims if you go over a pothole. So I just don't like the skinny tire look, okay, right? I know a lot of people do. Not knocking you guys and gals that like having basically rubber bands around your rims, but no, I like me a nice thick tire. It's not all bad though. Because I go there and he says, well, we can have you a tire tomorrow. It'll be $80. I'm thinking $80, that's cheap for a tire put on. That is pretty cheap, especially compared to whatever problem I got. This is going to be going on with the Nissan, the red one, I think. Could be major engine issues and the transmission being rebuilt. I'm thinking $80 at this point. That's a steal. That's a deal, $80. So I keep it there. And I call my neighbor who lets me borrow a Subaru. It's a small Subaru. I think it's a Forester. A Subaru which has have to keep the coolant, and I think the oil filled in it. It might have some major issues. I don't know, but it drives pretty good. Pretty good, for having some issues. And I wound up driving that for one day. That was on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. I drove that, and then early Thursday. I get some good news Wednesday. I get called Wednesday, and he says, we figured out the problem. And I'm bracing myself thinking like, oh, shit. Shit. Is it, is it the engine, water pump? I don't know. Thermostat? He says all it was some bolts were not torqued right at the bottom of the oil pan. So that's the best news out of all this. Out of all this, that's the best news ever. And it would be $100 and something, including the tow bill, to fix it. Which I'm not going to say anything about because all he probably did was add some oil and torque the screws up a little bit. They did do a compression test, but still, that's an easy paycheck for him. $100 some bucks for that. Hell, for him looking at it, yeah, I was happy it just wasn't, $300 or $400 or something like that. So the two bits of good news is I didn't have to pay much for the tire, and the oil leak, man, forget about it. Not a big deal at all. And he says, I feel safe and comfortable letting you have this car back, which is good because they did testing on it. So that's good. The best news is I got the transmission rebuilt. It was ready by Thursday morning. I shit you not. They start on it like Tuesday, ready by Thursday. And man, does it shift like a dream. Shifts very, very nice. I got one minor issue, which is, well, not minor issue, I guess, a bearing. It's a left bearing plate I need replaced. The piece itself is $150. Apparently it's easier to put on, though, so it's a trade-off. So at the very least, I'll probably have to pay $250, $300 to have that sucker put on at some point, but after all that, that's not that bad. Not that bad. Also, just adding this here, I found out what my amplifier problem was, if you have been keeping up on Show Off Saturday. Problem was the amplifier itself, which was actually the best case scenario, because if it was not the amplifier, I would have to look into the wiring of the subwoofers. I might actually have to take the car radio out to check the RCAs behind there for the signal. So actually, I got another amplifier for $110, another power acoustic, and it's playing perfect. And the vehicle is shifting perfect. What's not perfect is the fact that I spent almost $4,000, $3,500, maybe closer to it. Yeah, last week, which was unnecessary. And I say to myself, my store, I'll just hustle. The holidays are coming up. I'll just make that back. So, yeah, I have a lot of game testing to do to try to make back the money that I spent rebuilding the transmission. The positive is, I do have that option. As someone that resells physical media and stuff of that nature, I can actually just grind it out, hustle. And my goal is before the end of the year to make that money back in profit. Yes. So that's part 2 of my check engine light story. I was hoping it would be better news on the check engine light, but sometimes that's just how it is in life. You have a stretch for a couple days that are terrible, but now, other than the bank account being a good bit less from last week, things are going pretty well.